So I want to start off talking about the technique that I'm going to be using today. Using markers and pens, and this is a technique that you don't really see very much in the game industry anymore. And I want to send a little shout out to a friend of mine in Seattle, Mark Sealander, who still is working actively with marker and pen and is absolutely amazing. So if you recognize this, this is actually the graveyard for the prototype. And as we discuss ideas to develop the game and talk about environments, the conversation simply starts with something around, yes, we'd like to have a graveyard, and we'd like some type of creepy gate, and then an actual destination in the graveyard, like a mausoleum or a house, that sort of thing. And go through and start working up some roughs. So that's our graveyard. And then when we started talking about the lunar portals, we knew that we wanted some type of Stonehenge-like ring. And beyond that, it was wide open. So in this particular rough, you can see that the stones themselves have faces on them. And in the middle is some type of mystical portal that opens up almost like a window or a door. And you can see the environment that you're going to beyond that. Here's another version with more traditional standing stones, and the ground below you begins to crack and open up into some type of bottomless pit that in actuality is the lunar portal to take you to a different destination. This is the final concept for the one that we put together in the prototype, and it takes in a few elements. Each of the standing stones has an image and a lunar symbol on it, so you can only use it at that particular phase of the moon, and then the town or destination is actually highlighted. When that happens, you get some energy coming out from the standing stone, creating a sphere that opens up the portal to wherever that particular standing stone goes to. All right, the sketching process. So when I start sketching, I keep it really loose, just thinking about perspective and shapes. And in this particular case, it was about the dam. And you can see I've got some notes here about what we're wanting to do. The dam, the player can actually run across the dam. You get to the village has some type of gatehouse that you can get into. The dam is, there's an interior to it, that sort of thing. So from that sketch, I will do some marker roughs of potentially what that dam could be. In this particular case, just one floodgate, or there's additional floodgates up top, one place where the water's coming out, and just a simple blockhouse. This one became more elaborate and is very close to the finished design, where you've got the blockhouse, the one gate, and a little tower on it. And I don't know if it actually shows up in the prototype video, but this is in a playable map right now. So you can run across the bridge and check out the village and do whatever the adventure or the mission is going to be there. Okay. Tools that I use. I'm a fan of the Sharpie. This is the ultra fine point, and can give you some pretty thin lines, pretty thick. The thing I really like about the Sharpie, let's see if you can see this. This one might be, there you go, hopefully my shadow will let you see it. So the thing I like about the Sharpie is when you first touch down with a pen, you always get like a little blotch of ink on the end or where you finish. And in drawing with a pen, because you can't erase, you have to be very intentional about what you're doing. So that line and that little weight on either end really communicates this line is intentional. I meant to draw this. So when I draw, and I'll just start with a simple shape. As my pen dies, I always make a point to actually cross my lines. And you'll see this style in a lot of architecture, landscape architecture. Oh, sorry, that's a bit high. Architecture, landscape architecture rendering. And it's a technique I learned actually from a group of architects. And I've just carried it with me. Very much enjoy it. So along with that pen, I also have some thinner line pens. And thicker line pens. Looks like we're going in and out of focus. I guess it's trying to auto-focus on that. Hopefully you can get the idea there. And then some markers.
Might have walked in front of the light.
That's fine.
Do you want me to move stuff up light-wise?
No, actually it works pretty well.
Okay.
I mean, I'm in the shadow there and you get a good read on it. Excellent. So the one thing I forgot is marker actually goes on nicer Xerox paper, better than drawing paper. So I'm going to go get a stack of Xerox paper. I'll be back in a moment.
What pens did you use again?
Sharpie, Ultrafine, and for the markers, I prefer the Prismacolor, and it's because I used to use the chart packs, but the chart packs smell bad, really bad. And then just any type of tech pen. Staedtler. Okay, I'm back, and I've got myself some Xerox paper to draw on. Got my drink. Looks like I have the camera position in a pretty good spot so that you can see. And then it's really a matter of deciding on what to draw. Gotta love it. Okay, so one of the advantages of using markers is that you can block in. Oh, I forgot one last thing. So I've got a little more mileage than a lot of the people I work with, and when I draw now, I wear my reading glasses. So again, I'll be right back. Excuse me. Thank you for your patience, community. I greatly appreciate it. Best for reading, writing, and a little bit of drawing, traditionally. For those of you that don't know, the majority of art in the gaming industry is created in the computer. And you can draw on a tablet, like a drawing pad, called a Wacom, and you have a pen that just has a plastic point that you press down on the pad, and it shows up on the screen. And then in recent years, they have something called a Cintiq. And Cintiqs are essentially a monitor that you can draw on with said pen. And it's actually a wonderful tool. So it's just like drawing, but digitally, and it does get a little warm. Okay. So I'm not sure where to really start, and when I'm drawing and sketching, I tend to warm up a little bit, and so I'm just going to start with getting some shapes, indicating some basic perspective, maybe even lighting. When you're drawing, looking at the basic shapes, that looks like it's coming through pretty good. And I should say it's more about how you look at the environment. And if I was to look at the coffee mug is essentially a cylinder with a curve for a handle. Maybe it's a little more curved. It's got something on the bottom there, but that's about it. If I was to look at the table is just a rectangle. Paper is just rectangles on there, put on different angles. Table legs, in this particular case, are cylinders. So those simple shapes. It's looking at a chair, a person, everything in your environment. You just want to figure out how to break it down to essentially a square, triangle, a circle, or a line, which actually very quickly becomes a cube, a pyramid, a sphere. And the line stays a line. So what else? We've had a lot of discussion and a lot of feedback from the community that has absolutely been wonderful. I said it last night, and I'll say it again. I wish we had done this sooner, working with a group of people that are as excited as we are to make a game, to make an entertainment product, to be involved doing this together is really neat. So in this particular case, we're talking medieval, becomes Tudor, maybe shaped like that, just a rectangle that's kind of boring. Maybe it's got some kind of tower attached, certainly a chimney for a great room, and maybe another section at 90 degrees. Okay. Sometimes what happens is, like, literally the first thing I draw is the thing that gets me most excited. But I'm going to keep going. Something I'll also mention is I keep a couple layers of paper. What's interesting, if you're drawing or doing ink work on paper, the surface you're actually drawing on makes a difference. So in this particular case, I like a couple of layers of paper, and then I'm on the drawing pad. And I'll just put that to the side, give it much of a thought. If you're losing ink in your pen, put the cap on, make sure it's tight, give it a little shake, and that'll help force the ink down into the end, hopefully. Right. I start thinking about, what do I think about when someone says the word medieval? Maybe it's not a completely accurately built house. It's got a lot of curves. Maybe add-ons, because over time you're expanding on it. You don't just build it and it's perfectly done. You have to start with something and then build upon it. As your family grows, as your adventures, you find more and more things and you expand your trophy rooms, that sort of thing. There are times where I'll just start thinking orthographically, and what that could look like from the front. Or if I went from the side, that's the roof line here, the building, maybe this little section on the side here just has a roof. Put a fireplace in back there. And then the tower itself, actually, what if we put the tower in front? So again, I'm just looking for these interesting shapes, and I'm going to touch on these with a thick marker so that you can see them clearly. It's very important that whenever you're creating a game or you're in any type of visual storytelling medium, is the definition of silhouettes for certain things. Now with shapes, before I get started, because right now I'm just warming up, there are some basic shape psychologies that come into play. A blocky shape is a strong, simple shape. It's powerful, resilient, stable. Triangular shape is sharp, dangerous. A circular shape is soft, peaceful, non-confrontational. So when you look at really good design work, either in games or film, art in general, you'll see that they incorporate this. So the bad guy's citadel might have a doorway like that. And the reason it has doorways like that and these big angled walls is because they're encroaching on you and they diminish you. This shape kind of overhanging above you is an intimidating shape because it's very blocky in origin, but it also has the indication of these sharp angles. I think of another example. In Lord of the Rings, Rivendell and Lothlorien are very circular shapes. They have a lot of organic, this beautiful line work that Alan Lee had created. Soft, peaceful, very purposeful, and direction-oriented. Okay, so those are some basics and a little bit about how I think. We're going to come back here to this particular illustration, and that's where I'm going to start. So this particular shape that I quickly roughed in initially is actually the most striking at the moment for me. So that's where I'm going to start. And what I'll do is I'll use light marker. And I'll just block in the shape. And I think I'm going to make it part of a, not necessarily a ruin, but maybe there's some expansion going on, like the house is potentially going to be expanded. I don't know if any of you, and I'm sure some of you do, remodel your homes or do any remodeling work. It's very enjoyable, but it does take time. So we'll put a little bit of scaffolding there on the side, and what I want to do here, I've got to have some kind of front door. I'll make this a 2-story, let's call it a keep. I'm not sure how to put the front door in there to make all that work. It's not quite working for me, so I just move it to the side, go to the next page. So as an artist, when you're starting out and you have this idea, you will very much want to continue working on it, trying to figure it out, and some people will force it. And I used to do that quite a bit. Now it's as you work through the ideas and the roughs, and you may go through like 20 or 30 versions of just these simple shapes. That's all right. Just keep it going. It takes a while to find what you're looking for, but when you do, okay, that's it. So we'll try the tower on that side. I'm actually going to put the tower a little further back. I'm going to get some worm's eye view perspective, which is when you're looking up at something. It's called the worm's eye view, as if a worm was looking up. And then there is also bird's eye perspective, when a bird is flying over something and you're looking down on it. So bird's eye perspective, worm's eye perspective. That's actually probably more eye level, but that's what we're going to go for. Want to get a sense of what this could be like. So I like the tower aspect of it, and I like the keep aspect of it. And I'm thinking I'd like it to feel a bit homey. So I'm going to go ahead and put, I think for that door, I'm actually going to put essentially a front porch here to your keep, and we'll see if that works. And then we have some stairs that go up, and we have a door, and inside we have 1 story, 2 stories, and 3 stories. So we're talking about a 3-story keep here. Sorry, Chris, that causes any technical issues, but we're just brainstorming here. And then the next thing I'll do is I want to figure out where those gaps in the Merlin would be. So I have something like that, essentially just a roof. And I'm going to indicate a little lighting. I want the lighting coming from the upper left. So I'm going to indicate shadows on the right side here. That roof is casting a bit of a shadow. And the front area here is going to be in shadow. And carry that around a little more, just like that. And then, of course, a shadow on the ground. It's like, all right, it's a pretty interesting shape. So at this point, I'm going to take a thin pen, just one of these technical pens. This brand is Micron, and this is a 01. And I'm going to, so I like to get in close here when I draw. I want to make sure that I don't block your view as I do that. If any of you have kids and the kids make noise when they draw, you know, they're drawing tanks and they're that kind of thing, on occasion I still do that. Sound effects are always fun. So I want to re-emphasize what that silhouette is with the thin pen line. Now think about the roof here, and the roof's going to have tiles. So as I'm drawing this roof, I'm just putting some notches in there. Gives it a little bit of texture. Bring the side down here. Once I hit the terrain, I'll get a little sloppy with the line. I'll get this side of the tower. Same thing, you've got a little bit of grass. Maybe you've got a couple of plants here out in front of the keep. Put the other line, the main body of the keep there. Going to indicate the roof line of where our front door is going to be. Trying to draw a straight line. It's not always straight. Bring that way. Down, bit of an angle. I actually probably shouldn't be in shadow. Should actually be taking light. Then I will indicate some secondary lines. Now, something to keep in mind is whenever things are man-made, there is a repetition of line and shape. So if I show you this, just those series of lines, you may look at that and say, oh, that's a picture frame, that's a window frame, that's a door frame, that's a detail on the back of a chair, that is a table. Whatever it is, it says man-made to us. So if I do something like this, hopefully you can see those curves. This is natural. This is organic. It could be tree bark with tree limbs. It could be some type of pattern with the way water moves. You don't look at something like this and say, oh, that's man-made. You think organic. So since the keep is man-made, I want to have a lot of repetition of line. So I've doubled up the roof line here. I'm even going to make it a little thicker. I'm going to do the same thing for the tower. Got a couple of those. I'm actually going to carry these curves all the way around, just like that. We'll have them there on the roof. So this side of the roof will have a little bit of that stair stepping. Get it there. And it's okay if you mess up and put a second line in there or it's not quite right. There's something very attractive about the imperfections in nature and man-made things. A wall is very pretty, but if you see a wall that's old and it has cracks, or maybe some of the name just fell out of my head, plaster has fallen off the wall and exposed the bricks, or if you've ever been in an older building with bricks and there's like old things written on them or chips broken away, it's much more interesting visually and attractive to the eye. The same thing applies to art and honestly life. So I'm going to put a second set of lines in here to indicate the roof tiles. And then I've got my marker rough of where these crenellations are. At some point we're referred to as merlins, and I'm betting many of you know what the actual term is. Indicate a little perspective there. You'll see that I'm turning my paper round and round, left-handed or right-handed. You always want to rotate your paper so it's most comfortable when you're drawing. And I'm going to indicate some support beams coming out, supporting the roofs. Let's get some tiles there. Make sure I go every other tile so it looks like a brick wall. And we'll do the same thing down here on the front porch. All right, so we very quickly have some tile roof, and we have our basic shape for our keep. So let's think about this for a minute. Okay, so probably the next thing coming up is, I don't know, I'd like a window. I don't know if you like windows in your house. I do like windows in my house. So I'm going to do some medieval looking double windows here, because even though the shape of this house is very fortress-like, it is still a house. So, you know, having windows that are easily accessible definitely conveys that. So again, I do the double or triple amount of lines. We'll put one over here on the tower, and you can, I don't know if you can see it, but I've actually indicated the floor level with the marker. And the reason for that is so that when I put windows or doors or anything like that, I make sure I'm on the proper floor. Up here on the third floor, we're going to have a little door that leads outside. So maybe this house has a balcony. Some metal bandings on that door. And then we have the front door area. Indicate that. And I'm going to inset it a bit. I'm going to give it a little bit of curve, because again, we're talking about shape psychology. Because it's a house, I want to have a little bit of curve on the windows. I know I just made the windows pointy. Now that I think about it, I should have made those just a simple curve. So we'll put some depth here. so that the door is further back. Put some iron bars, door knocker there, and then indicate slats of wood. And then we're going to have a porch area. And then we are going to have a staircase. So let's see what we can do here. Okay, little indication of staircase. Got some plants. Got the shape of the house. It's actually it's looking like a keep, and of course we need a little lantern. Everyone needs a lantern on their front porch. There we go, and I'm going to show that up closely. Hopefully you can see that. If this isn't coming through, please let Fire Lotus know. She'll come in here. We can adjust the camera so you can see it better. Okay, so what to make this out of? Well, it's a little castle-looking keep home, so we're definitely going to use stone. So I'm going to put some big cornerstone pieces here. I'm going to make the porch there smooth. The steps I'm not going to worry about. Put some cornerstones or support stones up here. Some stone around the door frame. Put a little stone around the windows. Some secondary lines to indicate depth. And same thing with the door up here. And then the final thing, I think about it, you're going to need some type of little drainage system from your upper porch there. Just the kind of the top of the tower. And then the last thing, if I wanted to, I would actually go in and draw all the individual stone bricks. I'm not sure if I want to at this moment because I think it's going to get too noisy. So one of the things I'm going to do is go back and use my marker and reinforce some of the lighting and shadow now that I have the lines or some basic line work drawn in. This roof is going to cast a bit of a shadow. The door frame is going to cast a shadow. This door here is going to be completely in shadow. And the front porch area is going to be in shadow. Of course, if it was nighttime, the porch light would be on. Cast a little bit of shadow here. The front of the steps will all be in shadow. Something like that. Certainly the right side of the tower here is in shadow. Side of this tower is in shadow. And I'll carry that over to about here. And the reason for that is I want it a little darker on the main part of the tower, just so it pops kind of that front porch area. Okay, we'll give that a little bit of time to dry. Actually, I'm going to the inside of the windows there. And then the next thing I'm going to do is take the thicker marker and reinforce the line weight or the line thickness of some of these important areas. So this front porch door frame area is very important, and your front door is very important. Looks like I was indicating a couple of bushes there. I'm actually going to come in here with a darker marker and indicate some bushes. Now that's going down pretty dark. Marker lightens up as it dries. So, but those are bushes, the front of our little keep here. Indicate that. We got the window. We got the line under the roof of the tower. Got the door. Okay. And then the final thing I'm going to do is actually go in with a very thick marker, and I'm going to hit the outline of the tower. And again, it's about the silhouette of what the shape is going to be. As I get towards the point, I'll just kind of thin it out a bit, but working on the body, just like that. And I'll come back here with the kind of the medium size, just reinforce this wider tower, sits in front of the thinner tower. And we've got the front porch, the roof. Hopefully I'm not blocking the view, am I? I am. It's there in front also. Okay. Now, without any lines on there, this little keep looks like it was made out of plaster or something. So I am going to have to draw a brick. Because visually, when someone looks at it, I want to make sure they completely understand what it's supposed to be. So in this particular case, I want to make sure that they know it's made out of stone. And this will just give me an opportunity to reinforce the perspective in a very sloppy fashion. So I'll try and keep the same curvature, the shapes of a tower. Just get a lot of horizontal lines in there. And then on our front porch area, just get some horizontal lines in there. Okay, that feels pretty good. And then I will go back through and I will do the brick pattern indication of what that would look like. If any of you have a art book from the 70s called Castles, it's I believe it's a Peabody award-winning book. It was created by a fellow named David McCalley, if I remember that correctly. And he and this other fellow made a whole series of books look inside that sort of thing. But back in the day, David created these books, Castle, Roman City, all sorts of things. And he very much worked in ink, and he was very detailed, and he was the type of person who, I say is, as far as I know, is still alive and doing very well. He also did all the interior Star Wars books, the inside, the Millennium Falcon, and interior Star Trek books. But his style when he first started out was very influential for me as a child, as far as ink work went. And I found out in later years when I was working with the architects and the landscape architects that that's actually where that comes from. It's very important to indicate to your client what they're looking at. So they have a visual language for dirt, stone, rock, all sorts of things. And it's been many years since I've been intimately familiar with what all of that looks like. I try and indicate a lot of it in the work I do. Okay, I think we're just about there. So the final thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the, take the marker again. I'm going to hit the windows one more time. I'm going to hit the doors one more time. So they're a little darker and they recede. And then where the shadow is cast and is strongest, right here on the edge, I'm going to hit that one more time. So that your shadow areas are always, I'm not saying that right. So your cast shadow, right along where the light is actually where your shadow is darkest. And there we go. So here we have a little keep. Potentially could be a design. See if I can position this right so the camera gets a good picture on it. There we go. So this potentially may be someone's future house. Maybe this will be your house. We don't know yet. But I really do enjoy drawing this, so what else can we draw? Let's see what sounds good. Put this guy off to the side.